Welcome back everyone. The other day I talked about some of my favorite Android phones that I bought, some of my least favorite iPhones I bought. Now let's talk about some of the worst Androids I've ever bought in my life. Now none of the Androids that I've had for the most part had technical issues except for the LG G2, but I've talked about that thoroughly. I would say one of the worst Androids I bought from a spec sheet standpoint, from an upgrade standpoint, is probably the Samsung Galaxy Note 5. That's one of the earliest points I can probably go back to. And when you looked at the Note 4, that was a crazy good device with everything built in. With the Note 5, they sealed in that battery, they put in a smaller battery, they gave us a way better display, but at the cost of that, the smaller battery gave us pretty much worse battery life. But also there was no microSD card slot on that thing either, and the base storage model was actually fairly low. So I was not a fan of that phone. Even now, I don't even like talking about it too much just because it was a fairly outdated phone when it, was already released. It was a much better build quality. I like that build quality a lot. There wasn't really anything super technical about it when I first bought it that was wrong. But now when I look at a lot of used Note 5s on eBay and other places, it looks like there's a panel gap issue on the top of the Note 5. So that is another slight little issue. It's a very annoying thing, especially when you're trying to buy a used one. So that's one little issue with the Note 5. Now, probably another horrible Android phone that I don't think it was horrible in terms of what it brought to the table or anything like that, but just from a design standpoint, I don't think it's a secret, the Pixel 3 XL, this was another one of those phones that should have been better when it first came out. The notch really destroyed any hope this phone had going for it, and I think that's one of the more important things to keep in mind with a phone like this. I mean, again, when you get a phone, you want it to look beautiful, you want it to be perfect, and this phone I think looked good. It was a pretty good performing phone too, but the notch is the one thing that just threw me off like crazy, and I still don't really understand why they put it on here. So that's the other thing. I'm not a fan of that specific device in my opinion. In terms of the notch, I would not use it as a main phone, but it's still a good phone overall. Now next up, similar to the Galaxy Note 5, we have the Galaxy S6. This was another phone that should have been better than when it first came out, to be completely honest. It really, was kind of a hit or miss too. I mean, the build quality was better, the cameras were good and everything like that, but sealed in battery, smaller battery, and no microSD card slot as well. That's the worst of everything that Samsung had going for it, and they literally did it at that point. At the sake of that phone looking great and looking better than the previous generation and all that, it really wasn't too great of a phone. Otherwise, I like that display, but other than that, I'm glad they switched back over to that microSD card slot and all those things, but they took it out again with the S21, which is very annoying. But I don't think the S21 is one of the worst Androids I bought. I think the Galaxy S6 probably is. Now finally, the LG G3. Now this is random. I had the G2, I used it for a year and a half, but the reason I say the LG G3 was because this phone suffered almost exactly the same issues as the G2. This included things like, the touch sensors not working, boot loop issues, all those sorts of things. But for a phone like the G3, this was a crazy good phone. Removable battery, microSD card slot, Quad HD display from at a time where that was pretty much unheard of at that point. I mean, iPhones still had 720p displays. So this was a crazy good phone. The cameras were great too. Unfortunately, it suffered a lot of those things that, like the Pixel, it suffered a lot of things that, the G2s and the G5s also suffered from. So those are some big things to keep in mind there. And those are some of the worst Android phones I think I bought ever in my life. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.